The Power of Ignoring People, 12 Secrets to Mental Strength and Self-Control. Modern Stoicism. Right now, someone is stealing the most valuable asset you possess. They are not taking your money. They are not taking your property. They are taking your mind. Every single time you react to a provocation, every time you let an insult replay in your head or lose sleep over the judgment of someone who does not matter, you are willingly handing over the keys to your inner peace. You are allowing strangers, toxic individuals, and the endless noise of the modern world to dictate your emotional state. You are living as a slave to the opinions of others. You feel exhausted because you are constantly defending a fortress that should never have been under attack in the first place. 2,000 years ago, the most powerful men in the world faced betrayals, plagues, and endless criticism. Men like Marcus Aurelius commanded empires, but knew that true power was never about controlling others. It was about absolute mastery over oneself. They developed a psychological weapon so sharp and so effective that it made them untouchable. That weapon was the disciplined, calculated art of ignoring what is irrelevant. Ignoring people is not a sign of weakness or avoidance. It is the ultimate display of mental strength. It is an active, deliberate choice to protect your focus and preserve your energy for the things that actually matter. Today, we will break down the exact psychological framework the Stoics used to build an unbreakable mind. We will explore the secrets to emotional detachment and unshakable self-control. If you master these principles, you will never again be a victim of someone else's chaos. Let us begin the transformation. Stop treating your attention as if it has no value. Epictetus of Rhodes understood that our mental energy is a finite and incredibly precious currency. When someone insults you or tries to drag you into their drama, they are asking you for a loan. They want you to invest your time, your emotional bandwidth, and your focus into their chaos. When you react, you are making a terrible financial decision with your mind. You are taking the wealth of your inner peace and throwing it into a bankrupt investment. Think about how carefully you protect your bank account. You would never hand your wallet to a stranger on the street who demanded it. Yet every single day, you hand over your peace of mind to people who do not deserve a single second of your day. The toxic co-worker who makes a passive-aggressive comment is not just annoying you, they are stealing your focus from your career. The person cutting you off in traffic is not just breaking a rule. They are stealing your joy for the next hour. Ignoring them is the most powerful act of self-preservation. You must perform a strict energy audit on your life, starting today. Look at the people around you and ask yourself if they are generating a return on your emotional investment or if they are simply draining your reserves. When you choose to ignore someone, you are not running away from a fight. You are refusing to fund their misery with your sanity. You are cutting off their supply. People provoke you because they are starving for a reaction. They need your anger to validate their own miserable existence. By offering them absolute silence, you starve them of the very dopamine they are trying to steal from you. You leave them alone with their own toxicity while you walk away richer in focus and stronger in character. Guard your attention with the same ferocity that a Roman emperor guards his treasury. There is a fundamental flaw in how you process the words of others. You treat every insult as a lethal weapon that has successfully struck your chest. You bleed emotionally because you fail to apply the rigorous logic of Chrysippus. He was a master of breaking down human interaction into cold, undeniable facts. Imagine someone throws a stone at your character. Before you let that stone break your peace, you must catch it and inspect it through a strict logical filter. Ask yourself a very simple question. Is what this person saying true, or is it false? If the insult is true, then why are you angry? They have simply pointed out a flaw that you already possess, or a mistake you have actually made. The logical response is not rage, but immediate self-correction. You should use their words as a mirror to fix a weakness you can now repair. But what if the insult is completely false? What if they are spreading lies or judging you based on their own twisted perception? In that case, the problem belongs entirely to them. They are operating under a delusion. Why would you allow your heart rate to spike over the errors of a confused mind? It is mathematically illogical to suffer over a falsehood. When you realize that every insult is either a painful truth you must accept or a complete lie you must discard, the power of the other person vanishes completely. You become an impenetrable fortress of rationality. The toxic words of your enemies bounce off the walls of your logic because they simply do not compute. By shifting your response from pure emotion to cold analysis, you disarm the person trying to break you. They want a passionate argument, but you give them nothing but calculated stillness. Your mind is now a fortress, but your body is still betraying you. You process the insult logically, but your face instantly tightens and your breathing shifts. The person trying to break you sees this subtle reaction and they feed on it. They do not even need you to speak. They only need your physical discomfort to get the exact hit of dopamine they are craving. Musonius Rufus taught that philosophy is not just a mental exercise. It requires absolute physical discipline. The ultimate defense against a toxic person is the complete absence of a physical reaction. We call this the blank stare protocol. When someone insults you or tries to humiliate you, they expect a sudden change in your posture. They expect your eyes to dart away or your jaw to clench in defensive anger. Instead, you must give them absolutely nothing. You look right through them with a calm and untroubled expression. You do not smile sarcastically, and you do not frown. You present a completely neutral face like a statue of marble untouched by the wind. This physical stillness is incredibly loud to the person attacking you. It creates an unbearable emotional void. They threw their heaviest weapon at you, and it vanished into thin air without even a ripple. This starves the provocateur of the validation they desperately need. They will feel foolish. They will panic trying to fill the silence because they realize their power over you is entirely an illusion. By mastering your physical response, you force their toxicity to bounce back entirely onto them. You are fighting an exhausting and completely pointless battle against reality itself. Every time a toxic person lies, manipulates, or projects their deepest insecurities onto you, your immediate reaction is shock and outrage. You ask yourself how someone could possibly behave with such malice or ignorance. Zeno of Citium would look at your frustration and point out a fundamental error in your understanding of the world. He built the entire foundation of Stoicism on one unbreakable rule, which is living in absolute harmony with nature. You must understand that it is the precise nature of a dog to bark when it feels threatened. It is the exact nature of a scorpion to sting when it is cornered. Why then are you so surprised when a damaged, insecure, and toxic human being acts according to their own flawed nature? You do not scream at a dark storm cloud for raining on you. You simply accept that it is water falling from the sky, and you open an umbrella. You must apply this exact same cosmic acceptance to human behavior. When a coworker tries to sabotage you, or a stranger leaves a hateful comment, they are merely acting out the only script their broken mind knows. They are fulfilling their nature as an unenlightened person. Expecting them to act with honor or emotional maturity is like expecting a rock to float. Once you deeply internalize this truth, you will never take an insult personally again. Their toxicity is not a targeted attack on your soul, but a tragic reflection of their own internal chaos. You ignore them because their actions are as predictable and meaningless as the wind blowing through the trees. You step aside and let their storm pass without ever letting it ruin your calm. You have been conditioned to believe that every word spoken to you demands an immediate reply. When someone challenges your integrity, your instinct is to fight back. The moment you open your mouth to argue with a fool, you have already lost the battle. You have stepped down into the mud and accepted them as your equal. Cato the Younger was a man of unyielding moral integrity in ancient Rome. He did not defeat his enemies by shouting louder than them. He defeated them with the terrifying architecture of his silence. True silence is not a surrender. It is an active weapon and the most deafening response a human being can deliver. When a toxic person attacks you, they throw a psychological punch, expecting to hit the solid wall of your ego. They crave your anger to feel powerful. When you offer them total silence, their punch hits thin air. They lose their balance completely. You create an emotional void they will panic trying to fill. They will stumble over their own words, and their confidence will shatter because they realize you are unreachable. By refusing to speak, you strip them of all their power and force them to drown in the echo of their own insecurity. Never explain yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. You are suffocating right now because your perspective is entirely too small. When a co-worker insults you or a stranger leaves a hateful comment, it feels like the absolute end of the world. Your heart races and your mind tunnels in on that single negative interaction until it consumes your entire reality. Cleanthes of Assos would look at your panic and tell you to step outside and look up at the night sky. He was a man who revered the vast and incomprehensible scale of the cosmos. To master the art of ignoring petty insults, you must practice the cosmic zoom. Close your eyes and visualize yourself stepping out of your own body. Look down at the room you are sitting in. Now pull back further and look at your city, your country, and then the entire earth floating in an endless black void. Keep pulling back until our entire solar system is nothing but a microscopic speck of dust in a galaxy of billions of stars. Now, from that beautiful vantage point, look back down at the exact moment that person insulted you. How massive does that problem feel now? How significant is the opinion of an arrogant boss when measured against the infinite expanse of space and time? It is mathematically insignificant. When you force your mind to adopt the perspective of the universe, the petty grievances of other human beings lose all of their crushing weight. You realize that you are a brief flash of consciousness in an ancient universe. You simply do not have the time to waste your fleeting existence worrying about the whispers of miserable people. The cosmic zoom makes your daily anxiety completely irrelevant. You become untouchable because your mind operates on a scale they cannot even comprehend. You are actively participating in your own destruction every single time you lose your temper. You believe that the toxic person insulting you is the one causing your emotional pain. You are entirely wrong. Epictetus survived the brutal reality of slavery and revealed a terrifying truth about human psychology. He taught that if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your own mind is fully complicit in that provocation. The insult itself is nothing but a harmless sound wave traveling through the air. It has absolutely no power to injure you until your ego catches it, translates it, and decides to feel offended. You are doing the violent work for them. To break this pathetic cycle, you must transform your mind into a massive stone cliff facing a violent ocean. When an arrogant person attacks you, they are just a chaotic wave crashing against your surface. The wave makes a tremendous amount of noise. It thrashes and foams trying to erode the stone. What does the cliff do? It does absolutely nothing. It stands perfectly still and lets the wave break itself into a harmless mist. The wave exhausts all of its aggressive energy and retreats back into the sea, while the cliff remains entirely unchanged. You must become this immovable structure. When someone hurls disrespect at you, just let them crash. Do not absorb their chaotic energy and do not defend your honor. Let their worthless words hit the impenetrable rock of your self-control and dissolve into nothing. You are choosing to listen to things that are actively destroying your focus. You walk through life with your ears wide open to every piece of gossip, every passive-aggressive comment, and every sigh of disapproval. You think that paying attention to everything makes you aware. Seneca the Younger would tell you that this hyper-awareness is actually a profound weakness. He was a master of the human mind and knew that to protect your peace, you must develop a powerful psychological shield. We call this categorical deafness. Your brain already possesses an incredible filtering mechanism. It is the reason you do not constantly notice the hum of your refrigerator or the feeling of your shirt against your skin. Your brain categorizes that information as useless background noise and deletes it from your conscious awareness. You must actively train your mind to treat the toxic words of insignificant people the exact same way. When a jealous friend makes a subtle dig at your success, or a stranger criticizes your path, you do not argue with them. You downgrade their voice to the level of traffic noise outside your window. It is happening, but it does not require your attention. You look them in the eye and let their words pass completely through you without registering a single emotional response. Seneca advised that it is often better not to see or hear an insult at all than to acknowledge it and try to fight it. By mastering categorical deafness, you reclaim an enormous amount of mental space. You stop processing the worthless opinions of a chaotic world and start hearing your own thoughts with absolute clarity. You are bleeding over a wound that does not actually exist. You take every insult personally because your fragile ego demands to be the center of the universe. When a toxic person lashes out at you with bitter judgment, you assume they have found a real flaw in your character. You are completely wrong. They are not looking at you at all. They are staring directly into a psychological mirror of their own unresolved trauma and deep-seated insecurity. When they call you a failure, they are simply voicing their own terrifying fear of inadequacy. When they aggressively mock your ambition, they are grieving their own shattered dreams. Your ego actively tricks you into believing that their toxic words are a precise evaluation of your worth. You must forcefully shatter this illusion today. The next time someone tries to diminish your light, you must realize that the conversation was never actually about you. You are merely the blank canvas onto which they are violently throwing the dark paint of their own internal misery. Why would you ever let your heart race over someone else's desperate confession of weakness? You ignore them because their anger is a private war they are fighting entirely with themselves. You step out of the line of fire and refuse to be a casualty in a battle you have no part in. Let them fight their own shadows while you walk forward completely untouched. You are vulnerable to the opinions of others because your ego is desperately fighting to stay alive. Every time someone disrespects you, your ego screams to defend its honor. It demands that you prove your worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. There is an ancient psychological drill that will make you instantly bulletproof. You must learn how to temporarily become a dead man. Imagine walking up to a gravestone and shouting vicious insults at the person buried beneath it. You can mock their failures and question their legacy. What will the dead man do in response? He will offer perfect, unbothered stillness. He cannot be offended because the fragile ego that cared about earthly opinions is completely gone. When a toxic individual tries to provoke you into a reaction, you must instantly kill your ego. You must mentally lay down and let their petty words pass right over your lifeless pride. By playing dead, you remove the exact target they are trying to hit. You stop defending an illusion of yourself and sink into a profound state of unshakable calm. They will scream at a ghost while you watch their pathetic display from a place of absolute power. The dead do not care about the gossip of the living. Once you master this exercise, you become untouchable, because there is nothing left inside of you that can be wounded by a foolish tongue. You are losing every single argument the exact second you open your mouth to defend yourself. You believe that engaging with a toxic person is a necessary defense of your honor and your reputation. You are completely blind to the psychological trap they have set for you. When you step into the ring to argue with someone who thrives on chaos, you instantly elevate them to your own level. You grant a disrespectful and unhinged mind the deeply unearned status of a worthy opponent. This is the tragic flaw of the human ego. You must immediately embrace the terrifying power of asymmetrical warfare. The greatest military generals and Stoic philosophers knew that you never fight a battle on the enemy's chosen terrain. When a miserable person insults you, they are actively inviting you into the mud. They want you to get dirty and lose your temper because they already live in that darkness. Your absolute refusal to fight is the most devastating counterattack you can possibly launch. You do not block their verbal strike, and you do not swing back with a clever insult. You simply drop your weapon and walk entirely off the battlefield. This maneuver shatters their twisted reality. They desperately need you to fight back so they can feel significant and powerful. By denying them the war, you completely deny them their existence in your world. You look at their aggressive behavior the exact same way you would look at a misguided child throwing a tantrum on the floor. You feel nothing but a cold, detached pity for their lack of self-control. You maintain your crown and your unshakable composure while they violently exhaust themselves, swinging at the empty air. You achieve the ultimate dominance without ever throwing a single punch. You are holding onto a toxic desire for vengeance that is quietly poisoning your soul. When someone betrays you, your immediate instinct is to strike back and inflict the exact same pain upon them. Marcus Aurelius understood this primal urge, but he recognized it as the ultimate trap of a weak mind. He ruled an empire filled with traitors, yet he wrote that the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. This is the absolute highest form of ignoring someone. You do not just ignore their words, you outgrow their entire existence. You focus so intensely on cultivating your own virtue and mastering your own mind that they simply fade into the irrelevant background noise of your past. Finally, you must realize that ignoring someone is never a sign of cowardice. It is the ultimate display of an unbreakable spirit. It means you have conquered the hardest territory in the entire world, which is your own mind. You have successfully built an inner citadel where no toxic person can ever enter without your explicit permission. You are the architect of your own tranquility. Which of these ancient Stoic secrets hit you the hardest today? Let me know in the comments below. If you are ready to stop bleeding your mental energy and start building an impenetrable mind, hit the subscribe button. Become a true Stoic philosopher, protect your peace, and master your world.